This is my PHP project. So PHP is just a hypertext preprocessor. It's a server-side open source scripting language, and it's used to help improve web development. Currently, 82% of websites use PHP as their server-side scripting language. Some uses in the real world include image processing. You can create photo galleries that are never-ending. You can also create graphs and charts. This leads to a perfect website for e-commerce. No matter what level of business it is, you can use frameworks to integrate PayPal within your site, advancing it even further into the economic community. Some major sites include Wikipedia, Google, and Apple. Now that we got the very advanced stuff out of the way, I'll take a look at my very basic but still pretty cool list of names. So we come into FileZilla, and this is where we talk to the server. This is where our directories are shown to connect to the server. I'll connect real quick. So we're connected, and we go in here and we can see each of our different PHP files. This is the different classes that we have. We have store names, show names, names input, gone, and delete record. So each of these classes is where we code. This is the back side of it, showing each individual class and the code that we have to connect to the server and the specific job that we want each of these basically buttons in the website to do. So we'll come over here to names input, and on the right side we have the back side to it, and on the left side is the front side. This is the actual face where we go to in the real world to make the website, and you can see that the parent directory and the DB PHP, it looks exactly identical to this directory that we have here, and it'll show each individual directory if we want, because we have it connecting to, just going in here, connecting to the MySQL page, which connects basically it all together. So we come into names input, and I'll come over here, come into the DB PHP project, and go into the names input as well. So this is where we start in our website to put the names into the database, and we have it over here and the input type, and changing each individual stroke into a common variable that we have labeled as first name, middle initial, and last name. These will go into the store names for, class, and in the store names class we will be able to check to make sure that these posts are not empty, because if they are, we will print an error code basically saying you must enter your first and last name along with your middle initial. That way it'll stop it immediately and not put in an empty spot in the table. So coming down, if these are not empty and they're all full, we come down into the else. This connects us with the MySQL page and also the server. So this is the server, the port, and then my username and password going into to get into the server to put it into the database. So we have the if else statement to make sure we connect to the database. If not, we will not be able. We'll have the error message saying we cannot get to the database. If we do, we go into my account right here. Whoops. And then we search for the table names. The table names is the spot in MySQL where all the information is going and will be stored. Then we put each individual category in by itself with the first name, last name, and middle initial. We turn it into a string, that way they are not variables, and we will be able to add and delete them when we need to. If we then check to make sure that the variables were stored into the database, and if they were not, we'll say unable to execute a query, and if they are, a message will pop up and say the following was added to the database. Then finally, afterwards, we disconnect from the MySQL database. So I'll kind of go along on the left side here, and I'll just put in a random name. So I'll submit that, and it'll show that the following was added to the database, and that means we have our Frank Y. Holden into the database right now. So as you can see that we went through each of the else's and everything worked out just fine, and the following was added to the database. So it worked out perfectly. So now we go to show names in the database. I'll also go to the show names over here. As you can see, I already inputted my name, and so it's the same kind of thing. We connect into the port with my credentials to get in. If we're unable to get in, it'll say we can't connect to the database server. If we are, we search for my folder, and then we search for my name, or the names table in the MySQL site to database. If that works, we'll come down into the else. If the MySQL num rows is 0, it'll have an error statement, making it unable for us to go down further. And then we will come into the else, and here it will say, this is our kind of text, and it'll say here's a list of names in the database. We'll have here's a list of names in the database. Our table width and table border, I haven't really experimented with that yet, so I don't exactly know for sure what that changes or how diversely it changes. Right here we have the row start and then the header start. So we'll have the row, which is right here, and then this is basically the column name. So we'll do count as PK right here, and then we will stop that header, create another header, which is first name, and then come over here, and it is first name, table, quit the table, make a table, make a different column header, middle initial, and the header, create a new one, last name, and then date and time. In here, we show each of the rows and names for as long as we have names in the column. So we'll get the first count, which is the number of total entries we have put in the table thus far. First name, middle initial, last name, and the date and time. I have not implemented a date or time software to create a date or time into the database, so that will not show up. So we'll come down here one by one. We'll get Cody at first, and then middle initial J, last name Esmond, no date and time, so we'll go back up to the while. Frank Y. Holden. Now we are getting out of the database, which we're exiting out of that, and then we are exiting out of the MySQL page as well to completely close out any directions back into the server. So now we will want to add another name, and then we'll just go back into names input, same thing. We can add another name, any kind. This will change it into a string, or this will change it into a variable, which then we go to where is it? store names, which changes it into a string right here and add it into the database. We are added into the database. Go back to show names, and it was added back into the database. And then now finally, to delete each record, we come over here to the delete one. If we have the same connection to the server, my name, credentials and everything, we're still finding my account, and then we are back into the table names. Now, to delete a record, we will select one from the table name, which is just, here's a list of names in the database, select one to delete, and here we go, right there. And this only shows up if there are 0 names in the column or in the database, so we are unable to show a table for that. Same kind of thing, start a row, start a header, count as PK, and then this is all just about the same, except for I don't have the date and time on this one, so I just deleted it out. So this is just the only new thing in this. I'm sorry, it's these 3 lines are the only new things in with the delete record class. It's inputting a variable type and selecting that record as the count. So we come in here, oh, I want to delete, say, 18, and enter in 18. That'll submit in there, and that submit is now a variable. We come into gone, which shows the table. We're back into the server type, and then my username, and then my table name. And we have to strip the slashes from it to create the PK, the record 18. This actually does the deleting, and then its record ID has been deleted. This is the ID, which was the number that we inputted. This is just showing that we deleted it from here, and this is record 18 has been deleted. And then this does not show up, which is a problem. I do not know that. I don't know what's wrong with that. I don't know what to do with that. So down, same thing here. If there's no names in there, we can't delete any. That way it pops up if there are no entries in the database. Then it goes back to the table page, which is, here's a list, and we get each of them one by one to enter into the data. We exit out of both, and that way our information stays safe. Speaking of information staying safe, I'm going to go back to show names in a database. I was unable to find what the problem in show names was. Said as it was line 40, but I do not see anything wrong with that. I've been looking for hours to try and find what actually is wrong with that. I am stumped, and I just decided to leave it. I know that's unsafe, because if hackers wanted to get in, this is our direct link to where each of our information is stored, and they know the directories to use and the directories that they can take to get into my website and hack it very, very easily. And since it's open source, it is so easy to get into, so easy to change, and with a little security and a little bit more of knowledge, I will be able to find out what precisely is wrong. That way I can fix that for future. That way no error or warning kind of directories show up in my actual website. So I hope you liked it. That's what we were able to make, or that's what I was shown to make, and this is my skill set for as of right now. Thank you, and I'll talk to you later.